Subtitles: Welcome to today's magic show. Watch how this man picks a card, but slaps the whole deck on the glass door. Only a heart stuck to the glass, and House exclaimed he definitely didn't pick that card. But just as he spoke, the six of spades popped out from behind the heart, and even more surprisingly, it got stuck in the double glass layer. House immediately thought of a wicked idea. Just as he was about to ask the man how he did it, he suddenly started bleeding. Apparently, every time he does a magic trick, he bleeds. House rushed to schedule an MRI for him, convinced that this had nothing to do with magic. Just as the doctor powered up the machine, the man belted out a wail, forcing the doctor to turn it off immediately. Upon checking his left abdomen, the doctor found a deep purple bruise. It's bleeding, and we need to stop it right away. The doctors searched long without finding bleeding points. On hearing this, House demanded surgery, making everyone think he was crazy. After all, with no bleeding points inside, it meant he probably had a chronic illness causing the blood. But House insisted on putting him on the operating table, not to find any bleeding points, but to rummage around in the man's belly, leaving everyone puzzled. He pulled a key from the man's belly, had dropped it in the MRI. This guy really is lucky to be alive. House informed him that he'd be out after getting this bag of blood. As House prepared to leave, his subordinate halted him. The man had fainted again with internal bleeding around his heart, and cancer was suspected. House sent the man back for another MRI, but the man ominously predicted he was about to die. He even specified the time exactly, noon tomorrow. The doctors thought he was just being dramatic. But once they saw his scan results, everyone was left speechless. His heart, kidneys, and thigh were all bleeding internally. If they didn't stop it fast, he really might not last much longer. Doctors naturally found it hard to believe he could predict his own death and immediately held a consultation on his condition. While they were discussing, the man had another seizure. He calmed down a bit after some meds, but it wasn't long before it hit him again. Now acute abdominal pain suggested kidney failure, making House suspect the transfusion. To test if the plasma was the issue, they'd need to culture bacteria from his blood, which would take a full day to get results. At this critical moment, House made a crazy decision. He decided to transfuse himself. Since House's blood type was AB2, if he had the same issues as the man, it would mean the blood bank's plasma was contaminated. However, after the test, everything was normal with House. Clearly, the plasma wasn't the issue. At that moment, House was at a loss. After all, he couldn't think of any other condition that could cause the man's symptoms. Until his colleague Wilson pointed out he didn't even know his own blood type. House suddenly had the brainwave and rushed to ask the man. The man replied he's also AB. Turns out, when doctors transfuse blood, they don't check the patient's blood type directly but look at the antibodies instead. Each blood type generates unique antibodies. By chance, the man had appendicitis, confusing his antibodies and leading doctors to mistake him for type AB. As a result, his blood coagulated inside him, leading to bleeding and organ failure. Now, all he needs is 4 units of the correct blood type plus a little mass from his insides, and he'll be back in fighting shape. Next up, he felt something crawling on him, and when he swatted it, it turned out to be just an ant. Disgusted, he tossed the ant and continued organizing his papers, only for a swarm of ants to suddenly appear on the page. Subtitles: This really scared him, and he swiftly tore off his clothes, slapping his body frantically. Everyone in the conference room was shocked, rushing to get him to the hospital. House suspected it was a vitamin B12 deficiency, so he ordered his subordinates to give him a shot of B12. But right after the shot, the woman exclaimed she had wet the bed, and when the doctor checked, he was shocked it was not a little leakage, but a complete pool of blood. The doctor rushed her for a scope, and it showed everything normal, no bleeding points. Where did that blood come from? House diagnosed her as possibly being pregnant. Despite subordinates' claim of no fetus in recent ultrasound, House insisted. He stormed into the room and insisted on doing another ultrasound, much to everyone's shock when they found a fetus inside her, only that it wasn't in the uterus, it was in the fallopian tubes. Fertilized eggs usually develop in the uterus, but rarely may settle elsewhere, like the fallopian tubes termed ectopic pregnancy. This was also the reason for her bleeding. House thought that simply removing the fetus would cure her, so he handed her off to his subordinates. Little did anyone expect the surgery to be extremely risky. She survived, but her condition worsened with new symptoms. Her eyes began to blink uncontrollably, and before the doctors could figure out the cause, her pulse started plummeting. Since House wasn't in a hospital, his subordinates held an unauthorized consult, thinking she might have multiple sclerosis. After taking the meds, she started getting a fever, indicating their assumptions were wrong, and it caused adverse reactions. Afraid to tell House, they sneaked a look at her previous tests, trying to uncover the true cause of her condition. Accidentally, in the surgical footage, they found a tiny lump in her muscles. All agreed that it was a nerve blockage, which could explain all her symptoms, but to verify it, they needed samples, and shockingly, she refused the surgery. So they came up with the wild idea to insert a lit endoscope through the rectum to reach the nerve blockage. How nuts is that?